this video, let's start with chapter number 6, tissues. First, let's try to understand what is tissues. We usually explain tissues as a group of cells having similar origin and they are having same structure and performing same function. For example, we have muscle and blood tissue in case of us and in animals. In plants, we have xylem and phloem as tissue. In addition to these tissues, we have many other tissues which are performing different function and they are having different structure. So in case of muscle tissue, to be particular, we have, if we suppose we have skeletal muscle tissue. Skeletal muscle tissues are derived from same cell. These are evolved or developed from single cell, same cell, and those muscle tissues, which are skeletal muscle tissues, which are developed from same cell, are having same structure. So all the skeletal muscle tissues are having same structure, and skeletal muscle tissue are performing same function, that is for movement. So we can explain tissues as group of cells having similar origin, originated from same cell, and they are having same structure and performing same specialized functions. In this video, let's try to discuss about meristematic tissues, which are also known as meristem. Meristematic tissue are young, immature plant tissue. That means they are primary tissue. They are not old, they are just developed, and they are actively dividing cell. Let's discuss in detail. We'll first go for a brief introduction. We know that all living organisms are made up of or composed of cells. Unicellular living organisms are usually made up of single cell. They are having just one cell. Multicellular living organisms like us, horse, and many other living organisms are made up of many cells. In case of us, we are made up of many cells, and we do have tissue level organization. We have tissue. So we have already explained that tissues are group of cells having same origin and they are having same structure and performing same function. Now, study of tissue is known as histology. We usually study tissue with the help of microscope. Under microscope, we can view cells or we can view tissues. Usually we and animals and plants are developed or grown up, or we become mature by cell division, mainly by mitosis, somatic cell division, body cell division. And there is also a process called cell differentiation is going on, because of which we are acquiring different structures. Plants are acquiring branches, flowers, twigs. All these different structures are developed mainly by cell division. By cell division is duplication of cell. Because of duplication of cell and accumulation of cell, we are becoming mature. We are growing. Likewise, there is cell differentiation. We are acquiring different structures. We are acquiring different parts. Likewise, plants also acquire different parts, mainly by cell division and cell differentiation. We usually explain cell differentiation as a process wherein young and immature meristematic cells developing into specialized tissues which are performing special functions. So differentiation, in simple term, it is a process of maturing young, immature meristematic cells into mature cells, which are permanent cells, having specific function. Now let's look at our view of different types of plant tissue. we mainly have two major plant tissue. The first one is meristematic tissues. Meristematic tissues are young, they are very young, they are primary, they are just developed from at the time when the seeds are germinating. Just after this germination of seeds, there is development, or there is uh, evolve, evolution, or there is origination of meristematic cells. So meristematic cells or tissues are young, they are not old, they are immature, juvenile. They are immature and are actively dividing cell. Because of the active division of the cell, they are uh, capable of forming new cells. And usually these are being young cell, they are having thin primary cell wall. They are having very thin cell wall compared to mature cell, and the cytoplasm is very dense, and the cytoplasm is having a prominent nucleus, a distinct nucleus, a very unique and easy to observe nucleus under microscope. They are usually absence of vacuum. So being they are actively dividing cell, they are not having vacuum, they are lacking vacuum. So meristematic tissues are found in growing parts of the plant. Opposite of uh, meristematic tissue, or as the meristematic tissue matures, they will be differentiating into permanent tissue. Permanent tissues are uh, not having ability to divide. They are usually developed from, arise from meristematic cells, or developed from meristematic cells. They are made up of either dead or living cells, and they are having definite shape and size, and they do perform specific functions. Meristematic tissues can be primary meristem or secondary meristem. Primary meristems are meristematic tissue which are developed at the first time, and secondary meristem are usually developing later. In case of primary meristem, we have apical meristem and intercalary meristem. Secondary meristem can be lateral meristem, which are also known as cambium. Now, if we talk about permanent tissues in plant, we have simple permanent tissue and complex permanent tissue. The name itself suggests that simple permanent tissues are made up of uh, same cell, and these cells are cells are usually not complex. In case of permanent tissue, complex permanent tissue, then they are usually made up of different cells. That's why making a complex tissue. So complex permanent tissues are made up of many cells. In case of simple permanent tissue, they are just made up of same cells. In case of simple permanent tissue, we have uh, parenchyma, collenchyma, and sclerenchyma. So these three tissues, parenchyma, collenchyma, sclerenchyma, are simple permanent tissue. Parenchyma can be erenchyma or chlorenchyma. In case of complex permanent tissue, we have xylem and phloem. Xylem is made up of usually different cells or tissues called tracheids, vessels, xylem parenchyma, xylem fiber. So these different cells or tissues are making up xylem. That's why xylem is a complex permanent tissue. On the other hand, we have phloem, which is made up of sieve elements. We do have sieve tube and sieve plates as part of sieve elements. We have companion cell, phloem parenchyma, phloem fiber, forming phloem. So phloem is complex permanent tissue mainly because of these are formed by sieve, different cells or tissues, say sieve elements, companion cell, phloem parenchyma, and phloem fiber. Now you have to remember all these terms. You need to remember all these terms. So do try to remember all these terms. Now let's discuss about the three main types of meristem. To understand that, let's try to consider this diagrammatic representation as a plant having nodes. We have, I've represented here 4 nodes. Nodes are the region from which there is growth of branches occurs. So we have one node here and another node here. From these nodes there is growth of branches. In between these two nodes we have internode. Inter means in between. Node means the region from which there is growth of branches. So we have nodes and internode. In between these two nodes we have internode. Now the first type of meristem is apical meristem. The term apical here refers to tips or apex. We usually have two tips, two main tips, shoot tips and root tips. And plants do have other tips at the branches, right? Plants are having tips at the branches from which there is growth of tips which are developing into leaves. So leaf itself is having tips. So apical here mainly refers to the shoot tip and root tip. So location of apical meristem is usually the tips of root and stem. Roots of the plant and stems of the plants are having apical meristem. The function of the apical meristem is mainly for increasing the length of the plant by increasing the length of stem and roots. Because of the presence of apical meristem, tips of the trees, tips of the plant are increasing in length, and there is increase in length of the plant. So height of the plant is mainly increased due to division of apical meristem. A second type of meristem is intercalary meristem. Inter means in between. So intercalary meristems are usually found at the nodes or in between the nodes, in between the internodes. So nodes and internodes at the region where there is growth of leaves, we also find intercalary meristem. So intercalary meristems are found at the nodes from where there is growth of branches, and these are also found at internode, and these are also found in at the region where there is growth of leaves occurs. So intercalary meristem is mainly helping in branching of the tree or plants. It also helps in increasing the length of internode. A third type of meristem is lateral meristem. The term itself says that these are usually found at the lateral region. These are usually found around the plant, around the stem. So around here refers to the diameter. So a diameter or girth or surrounding the main tissue. So trees, if we observe, then around the trees we have barks. Around the trees we have other layers which are protecting the inner layer, right? So the region which is surrounding the main plant, main stem, is lateral, is the region where we observe lateral meristem. So lateral meristems are found on the lateral walls of the stem, or these are found in the girth of the stem. Girth of the stem here refers to surrounding of the stem. So I've shown here with this circular region, and this circular region which which is found throughout the length of the stem is the region where we found lateral meristem. and lateral meristem is mainly responsible for increasing the diameter of the stem, or increasing the girth of the stem, or increase the plants are becoming broad in stem. Uh, the roots are becoming broad in horizontal region, or these are becoming fat, mainly because of fat in the horizontal region, mainly because of the lateral meristem. So with this, we have understood the three uh, different meristem, their location and their function, and this is very important. So we'll continue further later. You need to answer some questions. This is an enlarged view of what we have discussed about the three main types of meristem. We have apical meristem, intercalary meristem, and lateral meristem. And do remember all these terms. These are important. Even the different types of plant tissue. Uh, we'll discuss later about all these in detail. Now you need to answer these questions. Your first question is you need to explain what is tissue with an example. Then second, you need to describe differentiation of living cells. You can describe differentiation with the help of plant tissue, as I have explained. Third, you need to summarize the characteristic features of meristematic tissue. Fourth, you need to distinguish between meristematic tissue and permanent tissue. Fifth, you need to discuss about the three types of meristematic tissue, and you need to state their functions. Sixth, you need to draw a well-labeled diagram of location of three different types of meristematic tissue. Then seventh, you need to enlist the different simple permanent tissue. Eighth, you need to mention different cells which are making up or constituting xylem. Ninth, you need to write the names of various cells which are forming various cells or tissues. Tissues are group of cells, so we can say cells which are making up phloem. So you need to state the names of the tissues or cells which are making up phloem. 10th, you need to justify the statement which is given here. Meristematic tissues undergo mitosis and differentiation to grow and develop plant body, or to grow and develop human body. So whatever usually differentiation is observed visibly, very visible and observed uh, commonly in plant body. So with this, we'll stop here and thank you. Take care. Bye.